Among the greatest opportunities I would mention in running clinical trial in Europe is Europe has a long history of running clinical trials. But in recent years, I think a lot of oversaturation has been seen in Western Europe. And that's why I've seen a lot of interest, a rise of interest in running clinical trials in Eastern Europe, actually. By Eastern Europe, there's almost 20 countries in Eastern Europe, actually. And majority of these countries are actually within the European Union, which is a big change compared to 10 or 15 years ago. This region has really started to be active in clinical trials. And the latest statistics, if we refer to regulatory bodies, to the EMEA, actually above 60% of the data coming for registering a product in Europe is coming out of the non-Western countries. So I would say there is a great place for growth in number of clinical trials for international companies, for many American companies coming to Eastern Europe. Good quality data, really fast startup. So that's a thing that should be really taken into consideration by any American company. And at the end, maybe really important thing as well, American companies can save up to 40% comparing to the Western markets. I've been meeting a lot of companies from US in recent years. As a clinical operations director, I was also involved heavily in BD in promoting actually Europe, but specifically Eastern Europe. Although I'm based in Amsterdam in Netherlands, I originally come from Central Europe, so I'm very familiar with the region, and I've been working there for companies for 11 years. I've seen a lot of reluctance from American companies, and I've heard one same statement each and every time we've spoken about Eastern Europe. And that was, we're a conservative company with a conservative approach, which sounds completely fine. This is a conservative industry. I'm conservative in terms of clinical trials. But if we look at the data coming from Eastern Europe in the last 10 years, if we look at the quality of the data that is being received, and the increased number of sites that are being involved in clinical trials, there is no reason for any worries from side of American companies, because more and more of the companies is coming to Eastern Europe. I had a pleasure last year of facilitating a visit of a VP of American company that was considering running a trial in Eastern Europe. They weren't sure. It's a pivotal study, very important. So a product should be registered based on the results of this study. They've decided to go with 3 countries in Europe. At the end, they've chosen all 3 countries from Eastern Europe. That was the definite decision. After walking the hallways of these hospitals, they've seen actually that it's really a much different situation that they were anticipating that it will be. So there is no real risk in coming to Eastern Europe. There's a large pool of patients and a high interest from the side of patients, from the side of physicians, and from the side of national healthcare systems, because running a trial in Eastern Europe brings meds to patients. They might not have opportunity to get those medications without a clinical trial. So I think the misconceptions about the Eastern Europe are definitely have passed, because all the FDA inspections in this region have passed really, really good. The regulatory environment in Eastern Europe has changed a lot in previous 5 to 10 years. So comparing to 10 years ago, when the startup was probably close to 1 year, you can find regions in Eastern Europe that are able to start up a trial within 3 to 4 months. So you can get a site SIV ready within 4 months with site contracts, with patients ready to roll in trials. That's a major leap. This is really fast, even comparing to Western Europe. And the number of the patients that will be enrolled is, you can multiply by 4 or 5 comparing to Western Europe. Western Europe is oversaturated. You have hundreds and thousands of trials per country in every Western Europe country. And comparing to Eastern Europe, you have about 100 to 300 trials per year only approved. So that leaves space to have more trials and actually to have more patients per trial. I think that's a real benefit for any company deciding to come to Eastern Europe, and I'm lucky and glad to see more of the company is coming to Eastern Europe. Still, once again to mention, a lot of savings can be made through fast startup, but in overall, it's up to 40% of savings by running trial in Eastern Europe. Well, coming to Eastern Europe is a great decision, first of all. So, as mentioned, you will get more of the patients, you'll get more of the sites, you will get skilled physicians, great speaking in English, and that's the good part. The tough part that needs to be worked on is US companies need a good partner for running clinical trial in Eastern Europe. Although the majority of the countries is under the EU laws, members of the European Union, there are still some differences in processes comparing to the Western Europe. From time to time, there is an import license needed for the IMP. That's an easy process, but if one is not aware of that process, you can get delays. So my definite advice would be find a good partner, a partner that is skilled and that has expertise in running trials in Eastern Europe.